Hey guys, it's been a minute. It's me, Dan Sear, your host of Mostly Movies. It's the holiday season. I've got my little green on, and we've got the tree, of course, that Carla and I put up. We're going to talk tonight about some of our favorite Christmas memories, Christmas movies, Christmas songs, everything Christmas. And if we forget something Christmas, mention the comments and we'll discuss it. I read Sunny by Al Pacino. Fantastic book, by the way. I really recommend it. Also, a book that really blew my mind was by Ed Zwick. It was called Hits, Flops, and Other Illusions. This guy went through some stuff on his movies. He directed Glory and The Last Samurai, I believe, and Blood Diamond. A great director, Ed Zwick. He also produced 30-something. That was his autobiography. Again, folks, it's the holiday season. Welcome back. It's good to see you all. I've missed you guys. Haven't been catching up on a lot of movies because I've been doing a Sopranos rewatch and a few other things here and there. I've also been very, very busy finishing my book, Lost on a Wave, which the cover is being worked on as we speak. And the last draft is finished and it's ready to go to government, get a copyright, and get me out of New Jersey. All right, let's see what we can do. As for I did ask Santa for a couple of things this year, a couple of Criterion DVDs, Arrow, stuff like that. But I've been naughty as Felix Unger. So, again, not too many Criterions or Arrow 4Ks this year. But I have Tubi and I have the public library. That's really all you need at the end of the day. So, let's see. Who else? What to my wandering eyes should appear? It's Saint Nick.
It's Saint Nick. It's Saint Nick, everyone. Ho, ho, ho.
On the camera.
Merry Christmas.
This guy. So does this mean you have the DVDs? Yeah, no? All right.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it later. I do have some milk and cookies over there, and we may get you something else. I made a nice ziti tonight with the sausage. Perfect. Just the right amount of spice in there. A little bit of red pepper flakes. That's the secret. No onions in the ziti, ever, right? You don't put onions in your ziti, right?
No.
Like he was telling Vinny in Goodfellas, don't put too many onions in the sauce, Vinny. Charlie Scorsese played Vinny in Goodfellas. And the funniest thing was, I'm watching The Muppets Take Manhattan recently, and I haven't seen it in a while, and it's a great movie, of course. And I didn't know where to look, but there's a scene towards the end where Kermit's in the cafe, and I think that's when they get the news about the show. And all the people hear the news, and they're all happy about it in the diner. And one of them is Charlie Scorsese. I'm like, this guy's in The Muppets Take Manhattan. So that means that he's worked with Jim Henson, Charlie Scorsese, Brian De Palma, because him and Katie Scorsese, his wife, have a little cameo in the movie Wise Guys. If you look closely, there's a party scene, and they're in the background. And he's worked with Brian De Palma. He's worked with, of course, his son, Martin Scorsese. But Catherine Scorsese was in The Godfather Part 3. Yeah, I bet you didn't know that one. She's in it. There's a scene where they're walking in there. I'm like, oh my God, it's Katie. Look at this. This is great. And if we ever make a movie someday, we got Parfuma in there. All right. So, folks, welcome, Santa. It's very nice to see you. And, if you get too hot, feel free for a shave, take off the hat, whatever you want to do. We're going to go into some of our Christmas favorites. And this is obviously my brother is Santa Claus. This is John Seary, my co-host. When we get to do these things, our schedules.
Oh, I'm Santa.
No, you're not. You sit on a throne of lies. We'll get to that movie, too. Elf, which I believe has replaced Christmas Vacation. I still love Christmas Vacation. But Elf, I think, has inched forward. Sort of like the way, and I love The Sopranos, I'm doing this rewatch, and I realized something that I didn't realize in my 20s when I first saw it. I thought it was just a good gangster drama. Now I realize the whole thing is a comedy. It's a satire. But I don't know why we're talking about that on a Christmas episode.
It's Christmas.
Yes, we're red and green, the funkiest thing you ever seen. And we're here to discuss a few of our Christmas favorites. First, we're going with songs, music.
Songs.
You got stuff, Santy?
Yeah, I got some Christmas songs.
You don't mind if
here.
I call you Santy, do you?
No, not at all.
Okay. Does it get me off the naughty list?
Yes.
Oh, well,
I'm
all
only going
right.
to naughty list. And by the way, if you've seen any drones, they're not from me or the elves. So.
Oh, okay. That's why we ain't been shooting them down. We thought they were from you.
No.
No. Traditional songs, religious songs, and pop songs. Now, traditional and pop kind of can be stuff from the last, say, 30 or 40 years as far as I'm concerned. Religious is religious, and traditional is like, it could be 50, 60 years. It could be much older, like White Christmas or something. So you have a list of 3?
Dreaming of a
You're dreaming of a copyright strike if you keep singing that song. By the way, I don't like the movie White Christmas. I'm so sorry out there. To those of you who like it, I'm not a fan of White Christmas.
Actually, I think Holiday Inn is better, but
Holiday Inn, I got to see Holiday Inn.
but there's some not politically correct scenes. Let's just say
okay.
But it's a much better
So
film.
when it comes out, it says we're chilling at the Holiday Inn.
Yeah.
So traditional, I only have 3. You may have more, Santa, because you're Santa, and I'm just some schmuck that got some schmo that got lucky here with this Christmas episode. So traditionally, I love Christmas in Killarney is one.
Christmas in Killarney.
By Bing Crosby. Sorry, Bing Crosby's kids. I know he hit you a little bit, but I love this song. See, even Santa laughs at that.
Oh,
one.
no, that's not nice.
Christmas Baby Please Come Home is probably more in pop, but I do love that song because of the movie Gremlins. And every time they say Christmas, we used to yell out, Gremlins.
Well, there's certain scenes. I don't know if I could talk in the Santa voice the whole time, but I'll alternate. Sometimes I'll do Santa from New York. How you doing? I think everything. Don't worry about it.
So what about Santa from Rocky 5?
Yo.
I love I'll Be Home for Christmas, but my favorite traditional Christmas song is Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
The Christmas songs, the real good ones, have a little bit of bittersweet sadness in them, and I think it's from the movie Meet Me in St. Louis, which I started watching. Of course, I was at school and I didn't have much time because very busy if you're a substitute. Everybody's getting sick. Everybody has a meeting. So instead of having a few free periods, I only watched about an hour of it.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I saw of it, I like it. Of course, Judy Garland is great. Always. She's just incredible. And anything she's in, she's just a joy to watch. I love her singing. I love her performance. I just love her. The camera just loves her face. It's just beautiful. What about some of your traditionals?
Well, when I think of traditional, I'm thinking of, Jesus is the reason for the season. Traditional, traditional,
Yeah.
So I would say,
Want some water?
Oh Holy Night. Yeah, I'll have
Especially
some.
your beard doesn't fall off. Oh Holy Night is great.
Oh Holy Night.
That's on my religious list.
Little Drummer Boy.
Oh,
Silent Night.
Silent Night is beautiful.
Mary, Did You Know? It's a modern day.
Oh, I forgot that one.
It's a traditional song, but it's a modern day take. And Oh Come All You Faithful.
Great song.
And Joy to the World is my personal favorite.
Love that one.
But they're all great. Do you hear what I hear? Like, remember when I said,
That reminds me
"A
of
child
Gremlins
shivers in the
too.
cold. Let's bring him silver and gold." I'm like, I don't think that's the priority right now.
Get him
we
a
all love
blanket.
silver and gold. Yeah, get that boy some swaddling clothes, okay? So, "O Little Town of Bethlehem" is another one. But as for, I guess, modern day Christmas songs, I would say, within the last century, I love White Christmas. That's probably 3 on the list. Do They Know It's Christmas Time is one of my favorite.
Yeah.
And number 1 would be Simply Having a
Wonderful
Wonderful Christmas Time by Paul McCartney. And Holly Jolly Christmas, Grown Up Christmas List, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Frosty the Snowman, We Wish You a Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
I like when the comedian says,
You could take the beat off, Sanders.
"No, I could do it." Now bring us some figgy pudding. It's like, hey guys, you got to call ahead for that one. The figgy pudding, it doesn't come that easy. Silver bells.
I thought it was
I
a
could
top
sing some
3.
Christmas
It was only
songs.
supposed to be 3.
Oh no, these are just
Traditional
Simply Having a Wonderful Christmas Time
We're
is
going to move
my
on to
personal
religious.
favorite of the modern ones. Well, I already did religious, but
What are your popular
I'm on to
ones?
funny Christmas songs now. But,
Okay. Well, religious, I like Little Town Bethlehem. I love Silent Night by Franz Gruber, not to be considered with Hans Gruber, who's the terrorist in Die Hard. But it's meant to evoke that. Yeah. Yippee-ki-yay, mada. I won't say it. But the way he said it is so funny. I remember seeing that movie as a kid, and I didn't even know who Alan Rickman was. I had no idea who he was. He was a British actor. And
Trust
I
me.
said, who is this guy? We knew Bruce Willis we liked from Moonlighting, and we knew he was a pretty cool guy. But that was a surprise, too, that a guy that was on a TV series like Moonlighting could be an action star. We had no idea. but we kind of knew him a little bit. But Alan Rickman came out of nowhere, and he's not been in as many movies as you think, but he has so many iconic roles. Like one thing I did ask Santa for, and I think Santa Carla is actually picking it up for me. I asked for Galaxy Quest, the new 4K release, and he's in that movie. And a lot of people forget he's in that movie, and he's so good in it. And he's good in Dogma. He's good in all these little roles. But that's a great one. Silent Night. And probably my favorite Christmas song, religious Christmas song, is a little bit more modern. It's from 1989. Michael W. Smith shocked everybody because he was mostly doing like synthy pop gospel music. And then he says, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to make a legit Beethoven like Christmas album that's going to blow everybody away, and it did. Michael W. Smith Christmas is a masterpiece. Even if you're not religious, you can at least musically appreciate it for what it is. But he wrote a song in there called "All Is Well," and it's when Mary's with the baby and Joseph is there and the wise men, and everybody just sits. They're all excited to see each other, and they just sit quietly, and the song is "All Is Well." Like it's just a beautiful, beautiful song. But then we'll move on to pop ones since you already threw a few out there. I love Happy Christmas by John and Yoko.
Happy Christmas.
You know what it is about Happy Christmas? It was after the Vietnam War ended, and there's always a little bit of melancholy in the best Christmas songs. And this is sad too because we lost John in December. So it takes on a whole, just like one of my other picks, Last Christmas. We lost George Michael around Christmas time, or I believe it was on Christmas Day. So it takes a whole new air of melancholy. It already had a little bit of sadness in there. But I'm not going to be a total downer with the pop songs because I like Christmas rapping by the Waitresses, And I know more lyrics of that song than I should have. I don't know all of them, but I know way too many, But that's a good one. Any more songs you got there? Because we're going to move on to TV specials.
Oh yeah, I'll just do a quick one of the funny songs.
We're not gonna break the internet tonight, folks. We're gonna try and keep this one short. Oh, funny songs. I have
Dominic
one.
the Donkey.
Oh, I love it.
12 Pains of Christmas. Billy Crystal's Chestnut Song.
Yes.
Dogs Jingle Bell. Woof woof woof.
If you
woof,
listen to
woof,
Billy Crystal did the Christmas song, but he did it as all of his impressions, like Sammy Davis Jr. Back when white guys could be Sammy Davis. He did Muhammad Ali, Howard Cosell. If you look up Billy Crystal doing the Christmas song, it's great. It's really great.
And of course, Father Christmas. I don't know about Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer because
Father Christmas is great. Well, Grandma Got Run Over.
I don't know if legally I could speak about that because it does imply my reindeer, but I wasn't there when it happened.
No, that was the other Santa. That was the one out of Canarsie. You didn't do that one. But you know what? With Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer, I used to be very upset by that song as a kid because she's like basically dead. And I'm like, this is kind of really dark. But then you watch the music video that they did, Elmo and Patsy, and like she's okay. She makes, which is nonsense. But
Merry Christmas.
But the darker one is Weird Al Yankovic did 2 Christmas songs. And Weird Al Yankovic, the thing that people don't realize about him, he's a brilliant artist and a great comedian. He can get pretty dark sometimes, and Christmas at Ground Zero is pretty dark about Christmas, nuclear annihilation at Christmas, which might happen with these drones. We don't know yet.
Please.
We'll be. I mean, I guess we'll be the mutants. What are we gonna do?
We've had the solar eclipse. We've had the
we'll have the
earthquake, and now the drones.
The nuclear strike, and the restaurant's gonna call me. So you're coming in tonight, right, Dan? You're scheduled.
Yeah, you're coming in tonight. Here's some other quick songs before we get to the movies.
And the other song,
it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
The Night Santa Went Crazy.
Santa Claus, here comes Santa
We don't
Claus.
talk about that.
Oh yeah, Winter Wonderland. Oh yeah.
The Night Santa Went Crazy.
Chestnuts roasting. Let it snow. Let it snow. Let it snow.
Jingle Bell Rock.
I'll be home for Christmas.
I don't like
Jingle Bell Rock.
No Jingle
Rocking
Bell Rock.
around the Christmas tree.
We need a little Christmas.
We need a little Christmas. It's the most wonderful time of the year.
I think I'm gonna have you wear this on every episode.
And a quick one: Christmas albums. Charlie Brown Christmas, The Grinch, Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh, we're going through
Bing
albums.
Crosby. And just singers who've they've made it their own certain songs. Bing Crosby, of course, Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Perry Como, Andy Williams, Nat King Cole.
Like you're burning up in that song.
Oh yes, yes.
Come on.
Amy Grant, Michael W. Smith. Just
You gotta
John
keep this
Denver and the
brief.
Muppets.
We might lose you.
Oh, we'll keep it brief. Actually, you know what? I think Santa. Would it be okay, boys and girls, if Santa just has a shave?
Yeah, get rid of the.
I think I need to do a quick shave.
I had
Don't
to.
worry, it'll grow back. You've seen the Santa Claus,
Yeah.
right? Okay, we'll get to that in a second. Okay.
They made 3 of those. Didn't they make 3 Santa Claus with Tim Allen? 3 of them, right? I only saw 1. It's like Home Alone. We were watching Home Alone 2 recently, me and the wife. Now, I've seen the first Home Alone a bunch of times, and I don't watch it.
Hey, everybody.
There he is. Oh, sexy Santa. I don't quite watch Home Alone every year, but it's like every 2 to 3 years, because it's okay. It's not that great. It's all right. The kid's a jerk. I don't like him. He's very unlike. Somebody did the funniest thing recently where
Well, Home Alone is like basically Die Hard for kids, right?
yeah, it's like Saw for children. Well, there's nothing
Saw
in the
for
movie. There's
children.
nothing in the movie that gives me the inkling that this kid is good at making these elaborate booby traps to basically maim people and kill them. And then he's doing all these elaborate tricks, and I'm like, wait, his family comes home. What if his mom tries to walk down the basement, or what if they try to aren't they going to get hurt too? And it's very strange, that movie, and it's like trying to be a live action cartoon, but when you're dealing with like flesh and blood, and honestly, it's not a movie I really love. It's an okay movie. You watch it, there are some heartwarming moments in it, but it's not a classic or anything. Sorry if I offended or slaughtered your sacred cow. Then we were watching Home Alone 2, me and Carla, the other night. I'm like, I really don't like this movie. It's really violent. Like, he's throwing bricks. He keeps throwing bricks at
that one guy turns into a skeleton when he's being
Danny
electrocuted.
Stern,
It's like
yeah.
Danny Stern.
It's like, this is the weirdest episode of The Wonder Years I've ever seen. But no, it was just very strange and violent, and really brutally violent. And I said, this is worse than Casino. Like, this is a terrible movie. And it was stupid. It was like, and the bird lady, she had bird poop all over. And this little kid is trying. I love Roger Ebert's review, because when Roger Ebert doesn't like a kid's movie, something's wrong. There's definitely something wrong with the movie. And he's like basically saying this little twerp tells this lady how to live her life and stuff. But I don't know where I was going with that.
I mean, seeing them again now, having a child of my own, I'll never show her the Home Alone movies until she's older, because I don't want to get her any ideas.
Yeah.
I don't want to come home to booby traps.
God help us.
But so it has grown on me over the years, but yeah. So it's fun. They're fun movies, and especially I think there's certain movies that get better with streaming.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go into it later, but it's like Jingle All the Way. I think that's a
like
movie
Jingle All
that
the Way. I actually like Jingle All the Way more than Home
Jingle All the
Alone.
Way. Now that
I'm
I'm a
in trouble
dad,
for that one too.
now that I'm a dad, what I like about Jingle All the Way is that
Jingle
it
All the
has a repeat value. It has a repeat value. It's just very funny. Sinbad and Schwarzenegger, I mean, it's a great team up. And, you got Anakin. So it's like, that's how you know why Anakin turned into Darth Vader, because his dad was the Terminator. So there you go. He's more machine now than man.
The apple didn't fall far. But are we going to go on to specials?
How about let's do specials?
All right, I have 5 specials here. How many specials you got?
Oh, I got 10 specials, I think.
Oof. All right. Well, start at 10 to 5, and then we'll do my 5 and your 5. Number 10.
Number 10. Let me get, let's see.
I've missed you guys. Been so busy writing Lost on a Wave, and
Dominic,
I finally finished it, and I'm like, the book is finished. And then I read it again, and I'm like, it's not finished. That's the tricky part about writing, folks, is sometimes you finish a draft, and you think it's done, and guess what? It's not done. You gotta fix it.
Specials. Now, number 10. You want me to do my number 10 first?
Yeah, till you get to 5, then I'll do my 5 and your 5.
Slapped for this, but Beavis and Butthead Christmas special.
Love it.
I'm sorry, I got
love
it. We're like a little bit like Beavis and Butthead. We just watch stuff and just giggle and just.
I love Beavis and Butthead. Christmas is great. I have that one. I got it at the record store. Rest in peace. Record store, Howell, New Jersey.
Record
This
store.
place was amazing. Unfortunately, it's closed. It's now a wig shop. Whatever.
Star
9.
Wars holiday special.
Star Wars holiday
See, I got a
special.
little,
You got to watch.
snowman
I
on
got to
my,
show you Disturbance in the Force. It's a documentary about the making of the special. Fantastic documentary. I love the holiday special too. You can't sit through the whole thing. You got to skip around. Some parts are unwatchably bad. But the story of how it got made, oh my goodness. But I'll say this, the Boba Fett cartoon rules. I love that. I still love that cartoon.
Well, they
to
do
this
have
day.
Art Carney, and we'll get to Art Carney later.
Oh, Art Carney, yes.
But they do have Art
He might
Carney.
appear in my favorite special.
One of the things I will say about Art Carney, we're going to talk about that in a little bit.
Oh, he rules.
But some of the
Carney's
movies
the
that
man.
my wife got me into, too, like around Christmas time, is a TV movie called The Night They Saved Christmas, and he actually plays Santa Claus.
The hat if you're hot.
And who's the guy who does the music for Christmas Carol, the Muppets Christmas Carol?
Paul Williams.
Paul Williams.
Really?
For some reason, I was thinking Andy Williams. Paul Williams.
Why haven't I seen
He's
this?
one of the elves. And Paul and Matt.
Oh,
is
he's
in
an
it.
elf.
And one
I
of the
love
Charlie's
Paul
Angels.
Williams. He's just this cute little adorable little man.
But Art Carney plays
Tasty
Santa, but we'll get to that later. But my wife got me into that one. We see that every Christmas Eve. Another
If you like Paul
classic
Williams,
movie.
you got to watch
If you like
Phantom of the
classic
Paradise.
movies, we'll get to movies in a second.
Great
But
movie.
Christmas in Connecticut, We're No Angels with Humphrey Bogart is great.
I gotta see all
Great
these
cast in that.
movies.
We're No Angels, if you ever check that out. And Christmas in Connecticut. What's another one that she got me in? She got me into a lot of different Christmas movies that, I just didn't grow up with. Sometimes it depends on, you grow up in,
Different places,
different
different
places. Somebody might like this Christmas, tradition or that, or,
Yeah, so what special are you up to? Number 8?
I'm up to, number 8. Frosty the Snowman.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, it's still pretty good. Oh, keep going.
Keep going. Oh, okay. Number 7, How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Oh,
You're
that's
a mean
number
one.
7?
Mr. Grinch. Yeah,
It's great, but, there's better ones out there. 6?
Yeah, well, 6, I do SNL Christmas. I cheat a little bit on this one, but it's SNL Christmas 70s, 80s, and 90s. It's some of the great skits of
70s, 80s, and early 90s.
Yeah, Christmas,
up to 92.
Chris Farley and Eddie Murphy,
Mr. Robinson's
Mr.
Neighborhood.
Robinson's Neighborhood, and just classic stuff. Adam Sandler doing the Hanukkah song, so
Oh, the Hanukkah
great
song
stuff.
was great. Oh, you're up to number 5 now.
Number 5 is Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
I like it. My number 5 is The Grinch. What's your number 4?
Number 4 is Santa Claus is Coming to Town. And by the way, and I will say this
seen
because
that in a
I
long
am
time.
Santa, although I did just have a shave. But Mrs. Claus is hot and Santa is coming to town. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I
But-
kind of remember that she was.
I'm like, she's a cute redhead. What the heck's going on?
haven't seen it
It's
in a
like,
while.
I'm having these weird feelings
Okay.
for Mrs. Claus. It was-
Number 4 on my list is the Christmas episode of The Honeymooners. Now, there was a couple of them because The Honeymooners was a sketch on the Jackie Gleason show. But one year they decided to turn it into a series. They did 39 episodes. Then they did ones a little later because the Jackie Gleason show was still going on. There was one with all his characters, like Reggie Van Gleason III and Rudy the Repairman. And I actually like those. Those are part of the lost episodes. But the one I'm talking about is from the classic 39. It's the episode where Ralph buys this box, this cigarette jewelry box thing that's supposed to be from the Emperor of Japan. And it's supposed to be this really rare item. And it turns out that somebody else gets her the same gift. And it was $1.25 down the street. And he has to get her a gift really quickly. And I think he sells, doesn't he? Something happened where he hawks his bowling ball and she gets him a bag for the bowling ball. And it was live TV, so instead of saying a bowling ball bag, he says, bowling bag ball. He says it like that because it was live TV. But I liked at the end of it, they bring out the Nortons and they say, we usually don't step out of character on the show, but we just like to wish you all a very Merry Christmas. It's a beautiful episode. If you can find it streaming, I believe it's on not Hulu, maybe Paramount Plus or Pluto TV. Look for the Christmas episode of The Honeymooners. It's great. That's my number 4. What's your number 4?
Well, my number 4 is Santa Claus is Coming to Town.
Oh, 3.
And my number 3 is Mickey's Christmas Carol. And I have
Great
to say, it's
special.
about 20 minutes. You could find it on Disney Plus.
It's easy to
It's
find.
about 25 minutes, and it's just pure television gold. And
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you,
Christmas
and there have been a lot
Future
of
was
great
scary.
Scrooges. There have been a lot of great Scrooges. Patrick Stewart plays Scrooge, Michael Caine, and the
Fonz.
the Muppets Christmas Carol.
Oh,
all
yeah,
that other
Michael
stuff.
Caine is great.
Great. But you know what? I think Scrooge McDuck is probably my favorite Scrooge. I know that sounds weird, and there's been classic Scrooge interpretations. And actually, aside from the Bible, I mean, one of my favorite stories,
Christmas Carol.
piece of literature, I guess, is.
Did you ever read it? Because I listened to
Yeah.
I never read it before, but I listened to the audiobook last week. You can get through the audiobook of A Christmas Carol in 4 hours. Read it. It is beautiful. And I'm not a big Dickens fan because I remember my AP English teacher in high school. Mrs. Chapman made us read Hard Times, and let me tell you, it was a hard time reading that book. Well, you know why? She says, I'm purposely reading the ones that were not turned into movies. I'm not going to give you Oliver Twist and then you all go see the movie. And I'm like, oh. But I saw Oliver Twist, and I want to just, I don't want to, because when you find out with certain authors, there are books they have that were not turned into a movie because they suck. Like, they're not, like most famous authors.
I saw a David Copperfield magic show, so I don't know if that.
No. But, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're usually not their best work, and that's why it hasn't been adapted, because nobody wants to go through the stress of making a movie out of something like that they're not into. But, like, I'm not a fan of Tale of Two Cities. This is going to get me in more trouble, folks. I read that recently, and I'm like, this is dumb. This guy's an idiot. Why is he doing sacrificing his? It doesn't make any sense to me. But I understand Charles Dickens is a genius, and I'm this guy on YouTube, so I'm not anybody. But it's like it was not for me.
To me, I think the reason why.
But the
Scrooge
Christmas
story,
Carol is so much better than that.
And we're going to get to the American Scrooge story later on as we go on when we do movies. No, not Scrooged. No, the American Scrooge story
things in there I don't like.
Is another movie that we're going to get to later on. No. Oh. A new take on it in the 1940s, but we're not going to get to that movie just yet. But it's sort of like a modern day interpretation of the story. But basically what the story is just about redemption. Yes. And it doesn't matter how old you are. You could change your life. Yes. You could today, you could make a difference. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter what happened. You can make a difference. So that's why I love the story of it. It's just
a beautiful story. And he wrote that story as a response to a lot of people in England not caring about Christmas anymore. And a lot of shops, like the restaurant I work at, being open on Christmas Day. And he said, no, this is a day that we should, have holiday and have some family.
1 day out of the year.
My number 3, you did number 3, right?
I did number 3.
My number 3 is Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, a brilliant special from 1976. Jim Henson, it was his first collaboration with the great Paul Williams, did his songs in there, River Bottom Nightmare Band, I'll do my best.
River Bottom Nightmare Band.
River Bottom Nightmare Band. That's good. You got to just channel some Cookie Monster in there, and you got it. As you know Frank's voices, it's easy to do. But the songs are brilliant. I'm watching it, and I keep doing this with my wife, and I got to stop doing this. I've been crying in front of her during these TV specials and these movies. We're watching this little puppet sing When the River Meets the Sea, and I'm like, I'm just a mess of emotion because there's so much power in the music and there's power in those lyrics. We are born and born again. It's such a beautiful song.
And it's also nostalgia too.
Nostalgia, because we grew up watching that as little. We watched it as little guys, and then it came back. See, Emmett Otter, I knew of it as a kid because we had a video disc. Look it up; it was a thing. Basically, a movie on a vinyl record, and we watched it all the time around Christmas time. But it was kind of an obscure special that not too many people were talking about it. Then, in the mid '90s, I'd say '95, '96, it started showing up on cable, TBS, and TNT started airing it right after The Grinch, and it developed a big following after that. It kind of had a second life that it didn't have back in the day. It was kind of like it was on TV once, and it was not rebroadcast much, but then it had a whole other life. So you're up to number 2?
Number 2, I have, speaking of R. Carney, Night of the Meek. I actually just found out that it's actually on YouTube through Paramount. You could find the episode. I think it's season 2, episode 11 of Twilight Zone. And the episode is called Night of the Meek.
Season 2.
It's starring season 2, episode 11.
It's on Hulu?
It's on, I believe it's on Hulu. It's on YouTube. You can see it for free. And it's 25 minutes, but it's pure television gold. Oh, it's just amazing. I was watching it again. I was and I was tearing up too. I was there's certain movies or certain things that just bring you back in time. But that was one of the episodes that we saw that really got us into the Twilight Zone.
When I first saw that, Channel 11, when I was a kid, started airing at 11 o'clock was the Twilight Zone, 11:30 was the Honeymooners, and midnight was Star Trek. Then sometimes, I think after Star Trek at 1, they'd play the Odd Couple reruns. But they started airing, And we couldn't always stay up late unless it was a Friday or Christmas time. We couldn't always stay up late to watch Star Trek. We usually fall asleep about halfway through Star Trek because, we were kids, and it was kind of like you'd go in and out of sleep while you watched it. So that gave the series of Star Trek, the original series, a dreamlike quality because you would go in and out. You'd phase in and out of reality as you're watching it, and you don't know, did this really happen on Star Trek, or did I dream this happened on Star Trek? And this, to the genius of Gene Roddenberry, real quick point about Star Trek here. After Star Wars, there wasn't much science fiction for kids. There was a lot of science fiction for adults, like Blade Runner, Alien, things like that, The Terminator. But we were too young for that. But we watched Star Trek, and we didn't really get it. But the colors, the sound, the music, Roddenberry had a way of engineering that in such a way that that's what we responded to. When I was about 4 or 5 when I started watching Star Trek, and I didn't understand it, but I responded to the visuals, the sounds, all those sound effects are like, I have a CD that has all the Star Trek sound effects on it, and it just gets embedded in your brain.
When the door opens.
But you know what? Yeah. But that, they had a prime time special with 4 episodes of The Twilight Zone. And that's how I saw Night of the Meek, because it was around Christmas time. So they showed us Time Enough at Last and we knew Burgess Meredith. Dad was great because he would tell us, this is the guy from this, and we'd start watching it. Like, he was watching Bridge on the River Kwai, came on TV, and Dad's like, oh, watch this movie. Obi-Wan Kenobi's in it. I'm like, Obi-Wan Kenobi? Where is he? So we watched Bridge on the River Kwai when we were really young, and it just blew us away. A great film. And we're watching Time Enough at Last. He's like, oh, look, it's Mickey from Rocky. I'm like, no way. That episode just blew my mind. I'm like, what an ending. And I was about 5. This was 1985. I was about 6 years old. They played that one. They played The Invaders, which was great.
That's how we learned about the word irony. At the end of that episode.
They played the episode The Invaders. Remember The Invaders with the ladies in the farmhouse? It's funny because there's Christmas movies and there's movies that are Christmas adjacent because you see them during Christmas time.
Yeah.
And they somehow become Christmas movies like the Star Wars trilogy, Lord of the Rings trilogy, whatever came.
There's a movie on my list that's not specifically a Christmas movie, but
it reminds me of Christmas. The Lord of the Rings movies do that for me because I remember 3 Christmases in a row. It was always the last day of the semester at college, the prestigious College of Staten Island, where I earned my BA in cinematic arts.
He's well trained in the Jedi arts.
Yeah, right. Oh my God! But that place sucked. Sorry, I'm not joining the alumni either. I'm not giving you guys any more of my money. You cut off, son. But the thing was, it reminds me of that time of year. Campus. It was a nice time of year. Oh, the campus was beautiful.
Yeah, the campus.
The Performing Arts Center was great, where we had the film club and we watched Star Wars and Superman in Detroit Rock City. That was a good place. I love the film club with my vice president, Danny Gaeta, and a bunch of other great people. Chris Bly was our treasurer. James Haynes was one of our officers, and he was great. We all did a good job there. It was fun. But they showed these episodes of The Twilight Zone around Christmas time. And the last episode they showed was actually a Christmas episode. And, of course, Dad is right there to say, look, it's Ed Norton. And I'm like, oh, yeah, it's Ed Norton. This has got to be funny. Well, this blew our minds. So dramatic and so intense. His performance is staggering. You can't believe you're watching television. That was one of the 6 episodes that was shot on videotape. However, some of them were also recorded on 16 millimeter off of the videotape. They were transferred to film. If you can find the film version of Night of the Meek, the video version's perfect. Don't worry, it's great. Don't get me wrong. But if you can find the film version somewhere, it's even better because it looks more like film. It's on 16 millimeter. I think they did it on, and it's John Fielder is great. Piglet, the voice of Piglet. John Fielder plays his boss.
That's where that voice is from.
Store.
I'm like, I know that voice.
And I'm going to say
Thank God for miracles.
Thank God for miracles, Flaherty.
We'll have some coffee. We'll pour some brandy in it.
Okay. Not about the coffee. I want some brandy.
Yes, get the brandy.
Brandy,
she's a fine girl.
Yeah. That's why Brandy Flores from Lost on a Wave is named after the song Brandy. Most girls born in the early 70s, a lot of girls born in the early 70s named Brandy after that song.
She's a fine girl.
But you'll read the book, you'll realize Brandy Flores is nothing like the song.
Blandy.
Blandy. Oh, God, I already ruined her now. I have to change her name.
You know, that's like the Bizarro version. You have to have the Bizarro version.
But my number 2 I won't say number one because we already just talked about it. Night of the Meek is my number one because that's my favorite Christmas special, no matter what. We watch the Christmas specials, and as you get closer to Christmas, as you get closer to the end of the night, you got to save the best for last. That's why we usually save the best for last, which is Night of the Meek.
After you see this video, go on YouTube.
Watch
and
Night of the
search
Meek.
Night of the Meek.
Twilight Zone,
It'll come up.
Season 2,
It's on Paramount
Night
page.
of the Meek.
You
Watch
see it for free with ads.
But it's worth it.
It's worth it. 25 minutes. You will not be disappointed.
I'm getting emotional. The ending.
Oh, it's fantastic.
I gotta stop because I'll cry if I talk about it one more second. But the ending is so beautiful, and I'm becoming a crier now. Ugh.
Oh man, forget it. Well, I'll mention.
I'll
mention this movie later.
I'm watching.
But there's a certain movie where it's like 10 minutes to the end. I'm just destroyed.
Which
I
one?
just can't.
Oh, we'll get to it later.
We'll get to it later.
My wife comes on. I'm watching Singing.
It's my number one.
I'm watching Singing in the Rain, which most people don't think of that being an emotional movie. At the end, when he says, "You are my lucky star," I was in tears. She comes home, she's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, they just don't make movies like this, and they never will again, ever. It doesn't matter. They'll never make them this good. They'll never do it as good as Singing in the Rain. It's just marvelous. I mean, it's not like my favorite movie, but it's just the quality of films. The quality of films in those days, you were entertained, man. You went out to see Sing in the Rain, you had a night at the movies. That was the first movie,
Night at the Opera.
For Night at the Opera is great. The album by Queen
my
and
top
the
10.
Marx Brothers film.
It's on my top 10 of movies of all time.
I got to put it back in my top. I got to revise my top 10 and put it back in there because it's so. She got me the Blu-ray last year, Carla. Very nice of her.
Fantastic.
So yeah, my number two though special, and it's neck and neck with number one. It could go back and forth, but my number two is a Charlie Brown Christmas.
That would be my number
that's
one.
Your number one.
I was thinking about it because when I saw Night of the Meek again, actually right before coming here, I saw Night of the Meek.
Talk about Charlie Brown because I get all emotional.
Charlie Brown, it gives you the, the thing is we love Christmas, the Santa stuff, Frosty, everything like that. But with something like Charlie Brown Christmas, it also tells you, it also tells you like, the original story, let's face it, Jesus is the reason for the season.
Yep.
And, we love Christmas culture. We love the Santa stuff and the Frosty and the Rudolph and all that stuff. And it's all great. But it really comes down to...
Christmas really started as a pagan holiday, but they weren't doing anything cool with it. So
it's
like, you know what? We're just going to go in there. We'll take care of everything. We'll fix it up. We'll put some lights, Tone. We'll get some garland. We'll get some garlic, and it's all right. They let the Italians take over. Once the Italians took over Christmas, the Romans, Constantine,
and that reminds me. That's the one thing. Home Alone, by the way. Home Alone. Let's see this. Home Alone. It's like, why would you're an American family. Why would you vacation in France for Christmas? It's like, look, if it was just you and your wife, you want to go and it's romantic or something. But really, your whole family, you're going to go to France? At least go to Rome. I mean, the Vatican will have a light show or something. I mean,
we were watching the first time I saw Home Alone was in a 6th grade class because this teacher actually had some connections at Fox. So she got the tape way before it came out on video. It came out on video, I believe, in the summertime. She had it around right before Easter break. So she says, don't tell everybody, but we're going to watch Home Alone. And we were all like, what? It's not even out on video yet. We were all excited. That was the first time I saw it. I thought it was okay, but it was funny because they're talking about old man Marley. Would he be Jacob Marley? Bleh.
Marley and Marley.
Marley and Marley. Kick ass. They're the best. By the way, because we're going to get to this movie, Muppets Christmas Carol, one of my favorites. Me and Carla just saw it at the PAC Center in Newark. Let me tell you why I love the PAC Center. It's a bit of a drive for me. It's a little over an hour to drive to Newark to go see Gotham City, to see the Muppets Christmas Carol with a live orchestra. You know why that theater's better? Sorry, Count Basie. And I'm sorry, State Theater, which are both very nice. That place, they blast it. They put it so loud that you could hear every little tiny joke. There was jokes in that movie that I didn't even know about. Like when Rizzo says, hey, I'm from New Jersey. I'm like, what? That's in the movie? Where's that? And it's in the movie. It's just, you notice every little thing. The music sounded great. They were playing it. It was awesome. And Michael
Caine is great.
But we're watching.
Along with Patrick Stewart and others that have played Alistair Sims.
Oh, Michael Caine's great.
Michael Caine is a great speech.
Michael Micklewhite was his real name. At the end of Muppets Christmas Carol, you could see a store that says Micklewhite Fabrics or something like that. Yeah, Michael.
Michael Caine.
Oh my God, that's
another. That's Hunter Biden.
No, that's Tony Montana. That's not a Christmas movie.
Oh yeah, Tony Montana.
Now Scarface again is not a Christmas movie, but I remember one year for Christmas. You got me
a lot of snow
the Scarface suitcase box set, and I remember we went down. We couldn't watch it in the living room because it was Christmas, and Mom would be like, "What's this?" But we went downstairs to the basement. We were watching Scarface on Christmas Day, and it's.
There's nothing like Scarface on Christmas Day.
You can declare any movie a Christmas movie if you watch it on Christmas. Like if you get we're going to talk about that when we get to the trilogy later. But if you watch Scarface on Christmas, it's automatically a Christmas movie because it's Christmas and there's lots of snow in there. Lots of white powdery.
Hopefully, you're all from work.
There's lots of
you're chilling out.
There's lots of white powder in the film.
A lot of white powder,
definitely. But Jacob Marley, Old Man Marley in Home Alone.
Do you want to build a snowman?
The legend, and how does he know about the legend that he's going around killing people with a snow shovel? He's like, there's a lot of talk going around me. None of it's true. None of it's true. But what do you know about it? Like, have you heard people say, oh, that's the guy that kills people with a snow shovel? Where there's smoke, there's fire. And I remember I'm sitting in class, and the finale happens, the Deus Ex Machina, or the Marley Ex Machina, saves Kevin because God in the machine, Deus Ex Machina. It's when everybody's going to die and all the good guys are going to lose, and then all of a sudden Han Solo comes out of nowhere, Yahoo, and blows up the Death Star, right? Well, Luke blows it up, but Han Solo shoots at Darth Vader's TIE fighter and almost gets Darth Vader. Han Solo almost took out Darth Vader, folks. You think about that while I beat the rat. But what happened was Old Man Marley hits the guy, right? 2 more movies that we probably wouldn't have gotten if he was a better shot. Old Man Marley shows up and just whacks Joe Pesci and Dan Stern in the side of the head with the snow shovel. And I swear to you, there was this kid in the back of the room. What was his name? It was I can't remember his name, but it's gonna sound racist if I just say it was some African American child in the back of the room screams out, that mother effer did it. He did it. He killed those people. He killed it. And then I'm like, and the teacher's like, go to the office. She was like horrified. And I'm just like, this turning red, trying not to laugh, but I'm thinking the same thing. I'm like, yeah, he totally did it. And then and then at the end of the movie, of course, thank you, John Hughes, for being so sweet and we love you. And he was put on the ending where he's like hugging his daughter and stuff like that.
And it has great music, John Williams. You know, it's funny. We're talking about like Home Alone may not be our favorite Christmas movies, but
I'm starting to like it.
We're actually talking more about Home Alone than anything else. Actually, I do like Home Alone too. We saw it again recently because it reminds me of, like New York in the 90s. Did
you see the new...
and it's nice to see New York City. We grew up in New York, so,
Did you see the John Williams special on Disney+?
I haven't seen it yet.
Oof, very good.
John Williams.
One of the best documentaries of the year. Laurent Bozeriot did it. He's a French documentarian. But don't call him Beloche because he's Laurent Bozeriot.
Beloche. They call him Beloche.
Bozeriot is great. And he did a lot of those... He did a lot of those great documentaries back in the old days on all like the Spielberg DVDs, but now he did this great documentary about Johnny Williams. It's the Jim Henson documentary is a little bit better on Disney, but watch this by Ron Howard, but watch this other one because it's great. And now, folks, we've come to that time.
Oh, the movies.
The best movies. You have a 10?
Do I have a 10? Jingle all the way. I'm sorry, I had to put it on. It's actually grown up on me. I will say an honorable mention, but I usually see this movie on Thanksgiving. March of the Wooden Soldiers is definitely
an honorable mention.
Very close to my heart. But I guess this Jingle All the Way really speaks to me now, being a dad. And it's just, it's a fun movie. It's basically, you could find it on, Disney Plus or Hulu or whatever.
It's pretty good.
This time of year. And what's good about it is that... you know, it also reminds me back at a time when people used to go crazy in the 80s and 90s for these, you know, these big Black Friday sales after Thanksgiving, and they would do
The
all
Green
these things.
Power Ranger. I remember
And
that
it's
was
just
a big deal.
interesting with all this other stuff. Tickle Me
for-
Elmo, like Tickle Me Elmo.
Tickle Me
people
Elmo,
go-
the Cabbage
or
Patch
Furbies,
Dolls.
remember?
Furbies.
Gizmo Gaga. What's
Yeah.
this?
Well, I remember the Green Power Ranger. Now, I was in high school when the Power Rangers came out. So I was kind of a little old. And you know what it is? It wasn't just that I was in high
But you know
school.
what? We had G.I. Joe. We had Transformers.
Yeah, we had the good stuff.
No offense to your Power
Sorry,
Rangers
guys.
fans. I'm sorry.
After
We had
the like late 80s, it all became about video games. But you know,
I mean,
what
like
was-
when you have G.I. Joe, Transformers,
well,
He-Man.
I
mean, even the third or fourth string, like, you know, like
yeah.
Thundercats and stuff like that. I'd take over Power Rangers. I'm sorry,
we
Power
went,
Rangers
we went to
fans, I'm
Columbus
sorry.
Market Flea Market. Did you see the picture? I don't know if I sent it to you. I took a picture of it. Somebody had sword replicas, and they looked beautiful. And one of them was the Thundercat sword. And I looked at this thing, and I'm not a sword person. And I was like,
Well, I do want the Braveheart.
then I looked at the price, and I was like, the Braveheart sword. Yeah, but you know the thing about
No,
the
but
Green-
I'm too clumsy for that.
I have friends that their little brothers were crazy about the Green Power Ranger. Now, I had friends in high school that did watch the Power Rangers. You got to understand something, though. I was the youngest of four. A lot of these guys were the oldest brother in their family or the oldest sister in their family.
And we had Voltron too, so
Yeah, and they were my
80s.
age. Well, the Voltron was pretty cool, but you know, so the Green Power Ranger, yeah. So there was a lot of craze about the action figures. Should I do my number 10?
oh yeah.
My number 10. Sorry, Christmas Story. I just forgot about this movie, so you get crossed off. I like Christmas Story. It's all right. People love it. I never got it the way I guess.
never got it
You know
either.
what I think it comes down to? Being from like New York City, being from like North Jersey, if you're from those areas, it's so Americana that we can appreciate Americana, we can like it, but if you grow up in the real suburbs, like if you grow up like, you know, in a more rural area, that movie speaks to you a lot more. Because I have friends that grew up there and they love it. I'm like, it's all right. I've seen it a few times. It's okay. But my number 10 is The Nightmare Before Christmas. Tim Burton, great movie. I just saw this in the theater, and let me tell you something. I know these people that say, "Oh, it's so much better in the theater, so much better in the theater." This is one that's a very different experience in the theater, and it's so fast paced, and it's really good. It's a great movie, great music by Danny Elfman, great animation by Henry Selick, and it's just a beautiful fever dream from the mind of Tim Burton. And what I like about Tim Burton when he's at his best is there's no cynicism. There's darkness, there's weirdness, but there's no cynicism. One of the reasons why I know it's a Christmas movie, and this is going to upset a lot of people, one of the reasons I'm not a fan of Batman Returns, I love the Super Nintendo game, not a fan of the movie, though, because it's a very deeply cynical, mean, it's a cruel film. And I don't like that. And even like the first Batman movie was dark and more violent than you remember. That's another one I saw with the orchestra in Newark. Magnificent.
Seen in
Probably,
Gotham.
probably the best screening of the year for me, anyway. And if you get a chance to see Batman with a live orchestra with Danny Elfman, you won't believe it. It's just a totally different movie. It's amazing.
No, and Danny Elfman and Nightmare Before Christmas too.
Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah, Batman Returns.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the Catwoman stuff with Catwoman and Batman.
That should have been the whole
She's actually still my
movie.
favorite Catwoman, stuff like that. But that movie,
The Penguin is just so like.
and he like kidnaps kids and that.
Yeah, he's like
you know,
he's a.
what is this Krampus crap?
He's
Come on,
he's a pervert and he's gross.
What you talking about, Krampus?
And he's one thing I don't like about him is that I haven't watched the new show, which you told me is great. I will watch it when I finish
very
The
good.
Sopranos.
Very
but
good,
you know what
Penguin.
it is with the Penguin?
You can't make him that dark.
He's
It's just,
he's,
you know.
he's skeevy. He's not clean. Like I could see if they take him out of the sewer, but give that bird a bath.
Yeah.
Man, he's really disgusting. Like I can smell him when I'm seeing him on screen, and I'm like,
And he's like eating fish raw.
raw
like,
fish, and he bites the guy's nose, and one of the worst things in that movie is when he kills the beauty queen. He like pushes her out the window. He's like, she looked pretty scared to me. But that's enough about Batman Returns. Do you have a number 9?
Batman Returns. No, not Batman Returns.
It's our Christmas list.
Number 9 is Elf. Elf.
Oh.
This is actually grown up on my
9?
list. Yeah, it's
I
actually.
like it a lot more than that. We'll get.
I
to
think
it.
I probably do like it a lot more than that. The more I see it,
I just watched.
in recent years,
watched
like when I
him-
first saw it, I really loved it.
Wow.
Santa.
I watched it with Mom the other day.
I know
'cause
him.
Carla's not a fan of Will Ferrell too much. She's okay, But I think everything Will Ferrell does is hilarious.
Yeah.
Like I showed her Step Brothers.
He's basically like a big kid. I'm actually, the more
she
I
did
watch
not
it,
like Step Brothers.
the more I watch it,
and I'm like, how could you not
I'm,
like this?
I'm
It's so
Elf.
good.
I'm Elf. I'm like a big boyish
Yeah.
guy, and I like I like to sing. You know, when we're driving in the car, my wife's like, "No singing in the car. Come on, let the song play. You don't have to sing." And I'm like, "I want to sing so badly, please."
It's a little bit. Are you up to number 9?
I'm up to number 9.
My number 9 is Anna and the Apocalypse. This is a really, really funny movie. I'm a big fan of Shaun of the Dead. Zombie horror is one of the things that I laugh at a lot. This movie is like High School Musical with zombies. It's a British film. It is so funny. And I've seen both versions because there's the version that I own on digital. But when it plays on Shudder, they sometimes play a director's cut. Director's cut is slightly different, but I think it's a little bit better. I love both. It's like Empire Records. I love both versions, and the stuff they cut is really funny. So when it goes back in, it's good. You should definitely check that out. We'll watch that someday because that's really funny. What's your number 8?
My number 8 is Muppets Christmas Carol. So
it's a little higher on my list. Great movie.
Great movie.
Amazing film. You know, and it took me a while with that movie because when it first came out, like Jim Henson had just passed 2 years ago. And then I didn't even know that Richard Hunt died because, you know, there was no internet back then. Richard Hunt is the voice of like Statler from Statler and Waldorf. He's the voice of Beaker, Bunsen Honeydew, Janice, and a few others, Scooter. So when I found out he died, I was like, oh my God, he died because it says in the beginning, dedicated to Jim Henson and Richard Hunt. I'm like, what? You know, this was terrible. But I didn't see it in the theater because I was kind of like, I was a 13-year-old little punk. And I'm like, I'm too old for this. And it's not the same without Jim. And I was very, very elitist about the whole thing. And I was a little cool to Muppets Treasure Island, which is pretty fun, actually. And Muppets from Space was, I don't remember. I saw it a long, long time ago. I have it. I just haven't watched it in probably in 25 years. But when the 2011 Muppet movie came out, which is so great,
really good.
When Disney was Disney, man, before like 2016, 17, when they changed and they turned to the dark side. I don't mean that like the diversity. I mean, they turned bad. Let's say
they turned bad. They like Star Wars.
I love my brothers and the fight the power. That's
they
real.
turned into Sith Lords,
but they turned into like this dark, stupid thing
Mickey Mouse.
Well, it's very condescending.
Sith Lord.
Their version of diversity is kind of condescending, and kind of we'll just give these people leftovers to fill a box. But when Disney was good, like 2011, they did this great Muppet movie, and I loved it so much that I actually went back and rewatched the Muppets Christmas Carol in 2011. Plus, I had friends at that time that were a little younger than me that were not as attached to the original Muppets because they were younger than me, and they said Muppets Christmas Carol is my favorite Muppet movie. And I'm like,
yeah. And Paul Williams.
And I watched it again, and I loved it. Absolutely. Christmas of 2011, I watched it again, and I loved it. And I found out that Paul Williams not only did brilliant songs, which he had done for the Muppet movie and Emmett Otter, but he was going through a lot with alcoholism. And this whole movie was like him pulling himself out. And what you said was true. It's a redemption story. So my number 8 is Die Hard. Yes.
You put it on the list.
I was going to have all normal Christmas movies, and I realized, you know what? I like what I like. And Die Hard is not a film for everybody. It's not one you put on with grandma. Unless your grandma's like my mom, and she's cool. Or my grandma. I watched it with my grandma. She loved Die Hard. Grandma Millie, she loved it. And I remember going over, we went over Uncle Anthony's house and Aunt Lynn, and they're there like cooking and cutting up vegetables and stuff, and Die Hard is on. I'm like, oh, Die Hard, I love it. She's like, yes, I always watch action movies. Like when I'm cooking, she's telling me, she says, you don't mind the violence. I said, no, this is a great movie. And we're all sitting there like Die Hard is playing on a little TV in the background as we're like prepping dinner and stuff. And you know, Aunt Lynn is the best.
I actually saw it. Like, she's wonderful. I actually saw it the last week. I've probably seen it like 3 times. I keep seeing Die Hard.
I have to see it again.
And it's just so good. It's like, you know, and the relationship, again, seeing it again, I was like, the relationship between him and the police officer. Oh, sorry, guys. You know, who plays, you know, Family Matters.
They love us.
He plays
Carl Winslow.
I call him.
He was a cop in Ghostbusters, Turner and Hooch.
Oh yeah, Turner and Hooch.
Family Matters.
And Ghostbusters. Yeah.
He just looks like
He's like, hey, Ghostbusters. The maid wants to see, right? Yeah. That's right. He was in Ghostbusters. I was just thinking about that.
Like a walk on.
And then of course Family Matters is known for. Reginald Vell Johnson, is it?
And I've seen him recently, and he looks great. He lost some weight.
He still looks like,
yeah,
the same. But that relationship is so great. He's like, "Welcome to the party, pal."
When he drops him on the car,
it has some of the best lines.
Didn't we once watch that with Andrew, our cousin? And we kept cracking up, and then he kept running around the house singing. It was during the Christmas party at Aunt Kathy's. And he kept on saying, have a holly jolly Christmas, because we just watched Die Hard down. We're in the basement. Well, everybody, we didn't know where all the kids were hanging out. And like, where's Uncle Mike? And where's Uncle Anthony? And we go downstairs, and there's a bunch of them in a room watching Die Hard. And we're like, guys, why didn't you tell us, man? This is great. It was awesome. I used to love that about their house when we used to go around Kathy's. And there's always like one room where there's a movie showing. Like I remember, it was very sad. Grandma had passed, and we're going through Uncle Anthony's video cabinet, and Andrew pulls out, our cousin Andrew's great, Andrew Lauro. He pulls out Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, and he's like, "Oh, we got to watch it right now." Because we were all, we were all missing Grandma, and we were all kind of sad. We miss Grandma so much. I still miss her. God bless you and Aunt Rose. I love you both. And Uncle Sal, God bless you in heaven. But we put on Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, and there was a bunch of people in one room, and I go inside at one point, and I'm talking to Mom or something like that, and I hear Aunt Rose reacting to the dinner scene, among other scenes in that movie. And
they took out his heart!
She's like, "Oh my God, he ate a monkey head!" It was so funny just listening to her. She's like, Mom's like, "What's going on in that room?" I'm like, "Oh, they're watching Indiana Jones." And I actually did watch that with Grandma Millie, because one time I was upstate for like a week, and Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom, it was like 86, 87. It just hit HBO. And Indiana Jones Temple of Doom was on 3 times a day, and I watched it all 3 times. So Grandma, was doing her stuff in the house, but in the afternoon, she'd watch Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, and she loved it. She thought it was great. And Christian, our cousin, Christian Laura, had a theory that, well, maybe, as she got older, her eyesight wasn't the greatest. And I'm like, no, she legitimately liked it. Like when Mola Ram is getting eaten up by the alligator, she's like, get him. So what were we up to?
I did about Gremlins. You remember? Grandma.
Grandma, she fell asleep during the scenes with the Gremlins, so she thought they all looked like Gizmo.
Yeah.
And then like, Grandma, let's watch Gremlins, and she sees the little green guy. She's like, oh, I don't want to see this. So did you do number 8? Yeah.
Number 8, I did.
7 is
Christmas Carol. 7 for me is Miracle on 34th Street. I actually saw the new one, the 90s one. Pretty good. Actually, you know what? It actually wasn't that bad. I mean, the original is pretty classic, the 1940s.
Yeah.
Now, there are certain movies that I don't mind if they colorize. Maybe just 2 movies. Like, I still prefer the black and white over it. But, like, the original Miracle on 34th Street, if they colorize that, I don't mind it. Because I think I have a DVD that has both versions, black and white and colorized. And March of the Wooden Soldiers. I don't mind if they colorize it. I usually prefer the black and white, and I like the DVD that gives you both versions, but I don't mind if they colorize it. But actually, I saw again the Miracle on 34th Street, the 90s one. I had never seen it.
Richard Attenborough.
I saw it last Christmas. And then the thing about it was I was like watching it, and again, just like Home Alone 2, it may not, like Home Alone 2 may not be the best Christmas movie.
You don't watch it all the time, but once in a while.
It reminds you of New York in the 90s and everything. And it was a special time, New York in the 90s.
Yeah, it was.
Everything like that. You had Seinfeld, you had, Friends, you had different things.
It's good. Miracle on 34th
Street. So
I'll talk about Giuliani.
So,
it was a different time for New York City. My number 7 is The Polar Express. Zemeckis. Polar Express was a book. Roger Rabbit was a book. Forrest Gump was a book. Everybody that always says the movie is not as good as the book, it's true 95% of the times. But that other 5% is Robert Zemeckis. Because let me tell you, what he does with this story, The Polar Express, he made it into such a beautiful film. And the animation, of course, is a little bit dated by today's standards. Mm-hmm. But what he was doing with human animation back in those days was staggering. And he's a guy that when he adapts a book into a movie, Contact, I never read the book. The movie's okay, pretty good. But Forrest Gump is such a great movie. especially compared to the book. You read that book, there's no way you can get that movie out of that book. Same thing with Roger Rabbit. I read the book, Who Censored Roger Rabbit? It's okay, it's weird, very weird and disturbing. The movie is so great, like that they made. We just watched it again recently, me and Carla, and I'm like, this movie still really holds up. There's a few things in there I don't like, but overall, it's really good. And Polar Express is just a beautiful film. Tom Hanks plays all the adults in the movie. He plays the guy on the train, Santa Claus, and the conductor, and it's almost like they're all the same person.
Well, who's your favorite Santa? Aside from me, who's your favorite?
I
think Tom Hanks is a great Santa.
Tom Hanks is a great Santa.
He has the voice down. He's got
Polar Express.
He's great.
And,
he plays all the different characters. Now, some people
say stuff about him now. Listen, I don't know. I don't know anything about that. I don't want to discuss anything about that. Like they say he's moving to Greece and all this stuff. There's a lot of crazy stuff that happens in Hollywood, and we know between everything's going on now and everything. I don't know anything about that, and I don't really believe a lot of what's being said. It's like the days of Red Scare where they would have a list of names because they're always saying, release the list, release the list. The list could be anybody's name put on a piece of paper. It's like when they said this person's a communist, that person's a communist. I need hard evidence. I need video, I need audio, I need physical evidence to prove any of this stuff. Even when there's people that like, oh, when there's smoke, there's fire. Like certain celebrities, there's definitely a lot of smoke. Still, without real hard evidence, it's just all he said, she said. This could be people trying to get rich, or this could be people, we don't know. We don't really know. So I don't like that stuff.
Also with AI, things could get faked. But
we're heading there, yeah.
But,
so number
Polar
6.
Express is beautiful music too. Beautiful.
Oh, great music. I think Alan
Great
Silvestri,
score.
right?
Yeah, great score.
Alan Silvestri never gets enough credit. He's really good. Works number 6 now?
Number 6 is The Santa Claus. Now, funny thing about The Santa Claus,
it missed my
the
list,
original
but I
one from
liked
the
it.
90s, and the 2 other sequels aren't bad as far as Christmas sequels go.
Yeah.
But a funny tidbit about The Santa Claus, we just talked about Tom Hanks being Santa Claus, and then you have it's Woody and Buzz Lightyear. So basically, that's the Toy Story connection. So you have,
it's a good movie. I like it a lot. I haven't seen it.
I forgot his name for a second.
I should watch
Tim
it.
Allen playing the Santa Claus. You definitely got to see it.
I got to see it.
It's on, I think, Disney Plus and Hulu.
Disney Plus.
Use it.
I'll watch it. My number 6. We're up to number 6, right?
Yeah.
You did Santa Claus.
Yeah.
My number 6 is Gremlins. I love this movie. What are the rules? Keep him out of bright lights. He hates bright lights, especially sunlight. It'll kill him. Whatever you do, don't give him any water. Don't get him wet. And the last rule, the rule that you can never forget, never feed him after midnight. I guess it's midnight till sunrise. They don't really say. Yeah. I love in the Gremlins too when they parody that. What if he eats during he's crossing time zones? Like all the questions that those annoying internet people ask, Joe Dante's doing it. He already did it in the second movie.
You know what's funny about what Gremlins is so funny, and
everybody
interesting.
Wants to know.
They actually.
Where's Gremlins 3? You know
Yeah.
where it is? It's in this book. I wrote the treatment, but
and you know what? Certain Christmas movies,
I
just
don't
like
think
certain movies,
Hollywood wants me. So.
Oh no! But I think certain movies, especially certain Christmas movies, there's certain Christmas songs you hear, or certain versions of Christmas songs that you hear, and you're like, that reminds me of that scene. Like every time I hear, do you hear what I hear?
Well, we wanted to do that on the trailer.
It starts up.
If Gremlins 3 ever got picked up, it was going to be, in the trailers where they play the song slow, so to take it seriously. They would say, "Do you hear what I?" And then it would be like that, and it would be like creepy stuff happening, and it'll tell you the 3 rules, and then it'll show the Gremlins wreaking havoc on Las Vegas. Oh, my script was so good,
and I just love it. I just love the movie scene. I love the scene when the mother. I mean, you want to talk about strong female
that lady's
characters.
The Terminator.
She just knocks. I mean,
I love
she
about her.
totally annihilates them. She almost, and then Stripe. Of course they need to keep Stripe there till the end.
You know what's great about
but it's
her,
like
though?
she takes out like
She
4 or 5.
She played
Gremlins.
like she was the definitive 80s mom, because she was also the mom in Back to the Future. She was Lorraine Baines' mom. She played somebody else's mom in some other movie. But I love that scene in Gremlins where she pretty much takes out the gremlins single-handedly. That was badass. When we were kids, and she kills one with a knife. She puts one in the microwave. She puts one in the blender, which was ripped off in a great movie called You're Next, a great horror movie that I love. But that was taken from Gremlins. Like, she pretty much did it. If it wasn't for that one hiding in the tree. The one hiding in the tree. She did a psycho
move on the other one. Like,
oh, it was great.
It's just, it's a movie I wouldn't show to my girl until she's much older, but...
Well, how old were we when we saw it?
Entertaining movie. Well, it was a different time. We talked a little bit about Gremlins.
I was 6 years old. We rented it. They wouldn't take me to see it in the theaters because I was only 5. And they're like, no, it's too scary for you. I'm like, damn it. I missed 3 biggies in the summer of '84. Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom, Ghostbusters, and Gremlins, because you all thought I'd be too afraid. And you know what? I saw them on video a year later, and you were right. I would have been screaming. I mean, I ran out of the theater in Muppets Take Manhattan when Kermit got hit by the cab. I freaked out, man. Imagine if I'm sitting through Gremlins. I would have been like... I would have been traumatized, but Gremlins is a beautiful movie. It's funny. It's got fantasy. It's got action. It's really funny. And I like the idea that when it was originally going to be made, it was going to be R-rated. Chris Columbus wrote it. It was one of his first scripts. And it was very violent and very dark. And the Gremlins killed the mother and they killed the dog and they did all this stuff.
Oh, no.
And Spielberg said...
They'll forgive you for killing the mother, but killing the dog...
But no, but Spielberg saw that and Spielberg's like... I don't know. I don't see that. And it wasn't like he was just trying to make money, because they only made Gremlins 2 years after the fact. They didn't make 20 Gremlins movies. But Spielberg saw, like, you know what? We can make this as just one movie, one little Christmas movie, but it should still be sort of family-oriented. Even though it's not for the little guys, it might scare the young kids. That movie's so much fun for the family. It's a blast.
And who's it? Like Hoyt Axton is the...
Hoyt Axton.
And he's almost like a Santa Claus character, because he's always working on these different inventions and different things.
It's not a Christmas connection, but he wrote Joy to the World, the other Joy to the World for Three Dog Night. He wrote that song. And he wrote the one that Ringo Starr sings about not doing drugs. Like, no, 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 I don't smoke no more. I don't want to land on the floor. That was written by Hoyt Axton. And Hoyt Axton's mother wrote Heartbreak Hotel, because when they were trying to get the song for Spinal Tap, they're at Elvis's grave and they're trying to sing an Elvis song, and the only one they could afford was Heartbreak Hotel, and the rights were still owned by his mom. So he was a country singer. He was not what I love about Dante, I mean, there's a million reasons to love Joe Dante. Joe Dante is great. He's a genius. Also from New Jersey. You know who I found out was from Jersey today? We'll talk about it later. Cesar Romero. So we got 2 Jokers, and we got Danny DeVito. We got 2 Jokers and a Penguin that are from Jersey.
2 Jokers and a Penguin.
I felt so proud of being from Jersey. But he's a Jersey guy. Him and Leonard Maltin, a bunch of great people in the movie business. But what I love about him is he's so creative with his casting. His movies are very creative too, and they're very exciting and they're funny. But he'll put people in a movie that you can never imagine in the same scene together. And it is so funny. Like when he did It's a Good Life, he did the remake for Twilight Zone, the movie. And like Kevin McCarthy is there, and he's supposed to be the uncle. Then you find out he's just some kid that Anthony is keeping in the house and he can't escape. Just the combinations of people that he puts together in a movie. Like, who would have thought, let's make a movie with Meg Ryan, Dennis Quaid, and Martin Short, Inner Space. And it works great. It's such a good movie.
That's a great movie.
That's the thing that they need to get back to in Hollywood, creative casting. Putting people in a movie that usually aren't in movies, or usually you would never see them together in a movie.
Yeah.
And here they are in one movie. And like, it's great. I always love that he gave a part to Dick Miller too, because that was the Roger Corman class. Okay, we're up to number 5.
That's great.
What's
number
your
5? I have The Bells of St. Mary's. Now, this one is not particularly a Christmas movie.
I haven't seen it since I was a kid.
I'll explain why I think I could put it in the list. Well, first of all, Clarence from It's a Wonderful Life is in this movie.
Yeah, that makes it a Christmas movie automatically.
Yeah, Clarence from It's a Wonderful Life is in there. And, of course, it's about a priest and a nun and about, a Catholic school for children. But also there's... And another reason is that in It's a Wonderful Life, when George Bailey's coming back home and, hello, Bedford Falls, one of the theaters playing the Bells of St. Mary's is on the marquee. So it's a
Sequel to
movie
Going
that we
My
see
Way.
around, just like we say March of the Winter Soldiers we see on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
This is what we see around Christmas time.
Well, there's
so.
Christmas and adjacent.
And of course you have Bing Crosby and other Christmas
There's
connections.
Christmas movies, but there's also movies that are Christmas adjacent. Like Sound of Music is not a Christmas movie, but on TV they would always play it around Christmas time.
Yeah.
So I always associate it with Christmas time. It's a great, great movie. Is that your number 5?
That's my number 5.
My number 5 is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, which we just watched again recently, and it's a funny movie for me because some years I'm not in the mood for it. I just don't feel like watching it. But this year we watched it again, me and Carla. It was one Saturday night. We were both tired. It was late at night. We put it on, and it just killed us. It's so funny. And he's great in the movie, and the idea that he that's the best of the vacation movies, in my opinion. A lot of people like the original. I'm not a big fan of the original. I recently rewatched the original, and he's kind of seedy. I don't like him in the movie. Like, he was, flirting with this other girl. And, like, he does that a little bit in the Christmas one, but it's more innocent, and it's more like he's called out on it right away. Whereas that movie, I felt, was kind of a little gross and a little, like,
Oh, the original, yeah.
And I don't like when the dog dies. I know the dog was a pain, but still, I didn't like... When they kill a dog in the movie, I don't like it. But Christmas Vacation is hilarious. And, of course, Randy Quaid, the great Randy Quaid, steals the show. His cousin Eddie. Bill Murray's brother's in there. Brian Doyle Murray, he's great.
Yeah, Brian Doyle Murray.
Really good movie. Interesting, Chris Columbus was going to direct that, but he didn't get along with Chevy. So John Hughes got another director, and he says, Chris, I'll give you another movie. Chris Columbus also wrote Gremlins. He's like, I'll let you direct another movie that I'm producing called Home Alone. And it worked out great for everybody.
Yeah. I mean, John Hughes from that time, from the 1980s to the early 90s, John Hughes was just like... And he wrote the Christmas Vacation.
I give him credit for, too? A lot of his later movies wasn't as great as his 80s stuff. But I'll say this about him. This is a guy who quit the business because he wanted to spend more time with his family. And I commend that. I think that's really great. And God, I was very sad that he died. That was very sad. But I have a feeling if he lived, he would have come back and he would have made some more movies and it would have been something. But, it happens like that sometimes. So now that I brought the whole room
But
down...
you know what? But at least he spent time with his family, And
thank God he had
I think
those
the
years.
older I get, especially being a dad now again,
That's the most important
it's really
thing.
important. And that's why we do all these things about Christmas movies and music and all the good stuff.
Did you read number 5?
I did. Number 5 was Bells of St. Mary's. My number 4 is Polar Express. But we were
Great movie.
discussing
My number 4, which we already discussed, is Elf. Which he's
it's
so...
a great movie.
Will Ferrell, he's one of those guys that I always love him. Whatever he does, it makes me laugh. He just makes me smile. I just like his style. Number 3...
It's like the way to spread Christmas cheer is singing loud for all to hear.
My number 3 is Muppets Christmas Carol. What's your number 3?
My number 3 is a movie called The Star, and it's based on the Nativity.
Oh,
of course.
yeah.
And it's a beautiful movie. It's animated. One of the most incredible casts in it. The guy who plays Joseph is Shazam. They have everybody's in this. It's like Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry does one of the camels. He does one of. It's basically mostly like. It's mostly basically like all the, it's like the animals around, like the nativity and everything like that, and they're following the star.
I gotta watch it. We never watched it.
It's actually a beautiful movie.
Where's
it
it
actually
streaming?
Jumped up on the list for me. It actually put Polar Express down one notch, and then I says, I got to give it to
Where is it streaming?
this star. It might be streaming on.
I'll look it up later.
I got to see if it's on
Watch
Netflix
it.
or.
Yeah, I'll give it a shot.
It might be on Netflix. Yeah.
My number 3. You did 3?
No, not yet. The Star, yes, The Star.
Star. My number 3 is Muppets Christmas Carol, which we discussed. My number 2. What's your number 2?
My number 2 is Christmas Vacation, which we discussed.
Oh yeah, we discussed it. Number 2 for me is Miracle on 34th Street. Beautiful movie, the original. I love this movie. I love little Natalie Wood is brilliant in it. The ending to this movie, it gets to me. It really does, because the idea that she saw a home in a picture, and she said she'd like to live there, and I think her mother lost the husband, and this is like the new man in her life, and she wants him to be her dad and everything, and they pull up to the house, and it's the house that she asked Santa Claus for, and they go in there and they see his little cane in the corner, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful movie. Check it out if you haven't seen it. It's just great. It was 30 or 40 something, probably 40 something. I don't remember, but it's definitely worth watching around Christmas time. Mom and I watch it. Usually, I would put it on for her and stuff, and I have to go over there someday and watch it with her because that's the thing. When you're not home, you got to move. You got to schedule dates to come over and like watch all these movies that you're just like, hey, Mom, let me put on 34th Street. What's your number one? I think we have the same number one.
I think we have the same number one. It's a Wonderful Life.
Buffalo gals, can't you come out tonight? Can't you come out tonight? Won't you come out tonight? Definitely. Amazing movie. And again, maybe I actually think of this movie not always as a Christmas movie because, when I first saw it, it was in the summer. It was like around July or something. And for some reason, we didn't rent it. I think we bought the tapes from somewhere and it was cheap. And we were watching it. And it took place at Christmas, which, when you're a kid, you're always down for a Christmas movie. In the middle of summer, you're like, man, I wish it was Christmas right now. I get some new G.I. Joes and Nintendos. But like, it's funny. It's heartwarming. It's just a beautiful film. And, Capra, who was Sicilian, he was an immigrant from Sicily. He really was big on family, but somehow he was able to do all the stuff of the Italians and the closeness of an Italian family and just put it in wasp masks, basically, because these are all Irish people, the Baileys and stuff like that, and their and I don't think a guy from Sicily is necessarily going to be able to do a movie about Irish people, but here we are. And he just
hangs out with a bunch of garlic
eaters. Yeah, garlic eaters.
He is so good. I mean, talk about Scrooge.
Henry F. Potter.
And this Scrooge, I don't think he gets redeemed at the end. He's sort of like,
no,
he's
that's
a bum
the greatest
to the end.
thing. The greatest thing about the ending of that movie is that the bad guy wins, but the good guy wins bigger. Because the bad guy at the end of the day, he says, his last line in the movie is Merry Christmas, Mr. Party's like, and a Happy New Year to you in jail. Go home, they're waiting for you. Those are like his last lines in the movie. But at the end of the movie, you don't have to destroy the bad guy because the bad guy's already destroyed. His life is already a wreck. What you need to do is win.
And he's become irrelevant. Like, I love when they do Hee Haw and Sam Wainwright. It's like they were questioning about the $5,000 and forget about how much stuff those other people brought
8,000?
in. It's like Sam Wainwright's like, oh, it's 8,000? Was it 8,000?
So
it's like Sam Wainwright just like, yeah, 25,000. There you go. So it's like that on top of all the other money.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, from that, the last 10 minutes of that movie, from the time when he says every man on that transport died, they weren't. Yeah. You weren't there to save Harry. And
you know what?
He wasn't there to save them. So from that moment on, I'm like bawling like a female canine. Let's just say I'm like bawling like bad. Like,
that's not a movie.
I'm just like I'm just again, I can't even open my eyes. I'm crying so much.
That's not a movie that's a scary film, but that moment
everything gets built up when he comes back home. And then he's seeing with his kids and Zuzu's feeling better and it's just every single thing. And then when his brother comes in and he's like, to the richest man in town. Harry. I never had so many friends.
And there's a great episode of Batman the Animated Series, which is about Batman has never watched It's a Wonderful Life. So Robin says after we go out and get the Joker, because the Joker's on the loose, which was great because it was the first time in Batman, a series or a movie, they have the Joker singing Jingle Bells, Batman Smells. It's great. And they catch the Joker, and he says, I'll make a deal with you. We'll go out, we'll catch the Joker, then we'll come back and watch It's a Wonderful Life. We'll watch It's a Wonderful Life. And Batman says, I never understood the title of that movie. But R.I.P. Kevin Conroy, love you. But that Christmas with the Joker is a good chaser. If you watch It's a Wonderful Life and then you take out your Batman animated series Blu-rays and watch Christmas with the Joker, it's a really good chaser to that. It's like a little cordial afterwards. Yeah. Now, I have to say, with It's a Wonderful Life, too, the part that always got to me as a kid, and it's not per se a scary movie, but there's a little bit of like a Christmas Carol, like a ghost story element to it, because the idea that this guy wakes up and nobody knows who he is, and he's a stranger to everyone. And the scene at the cemetery is very scary when he says, I'm going to Bailey Park. And the music in that scene.
Yeah, the music is great.
It's really, that used to scare me as a kid. I got really afraid of that scene because you knew that he built these houses, and instead of houses, it was graves. It was a cemetery, and there's no life there. There's just death. And one of the dead people there, one of the corpses in the ground is his brother, whose life he saved. And I saw the movie when I was around the age of the kids. So the beginning of the movie, George Bailey and his brothers, we were around their ages. Like, because I was the youngest brother. And I'd watch, like, George Bailey reminded me of, like, you and Tommy and stuff like that. And, it is so scary that he thinks that his life is nothing, and he realizes how valuable and the value of his life and everyone's life. And it's incredible.
It's one of the great American movies of all time. It's actually on my top 10 list of all time.
It's great.
One of my favorite movies of all time.
And you can watch it all year round, just like Muppets Christmas Carol. You can watch, it doesn't have to be Christmas.
It's entertaining. It's, and there's so many different characters in it. It's like they don't waste a scene.
A Christmas movie is, if it's a movie you love, you can watch it anytime you want.
Like even Christmas Vacation, every scene in it is sort of
download it, pay for it, but you could watch a movie you love that means something to you. Christmas, watch it all the time. It doesn't have to be Christmas.
Like Christmas Vacation, there's it's sort of like they have the Advent calendar, and every scene is a certain specific scene, but it's all and then it all leads to the end and everything. But with Christmas, with It's a Wonderful Life, it's just a beautiful script.
Oh yeah,
from beginning to end, it's just the way it moves, and it's just. This didn't happen because this could have happened. And I have to say, the scene when he's doing that prayer, when he's in the bar and he's doing that prayer, that's really powerful stuff right there.
Stuff.
And he had just come back from the war. And, he was a fighter pilot. And he actually, he had to hear those fighter pilots that were going down in the war. He had to hear their last prayers or whatever, or things like that, and
it's
and
real.
Just that stayed with him. He had that, and you could feel you see a different Jimmy Stewart in the 30s and the early 40s, and then after World War II, and there was more a strong. He was more of like a like Shop Around the Corner and Philadelphia Story type thing. But I'm telling you, like, you could see that. And I would say from, like, a movie that's not particularly a biblical movie like Ten Commandments or King of Kings, this is the best faith-based movie ever made because it shows that, and I guess this is a great way to close it out, but it's like, I think it really shows you that, we joke, like, we love talking about Christmas movies, Christmas music. But, I really believe, God is real. And I just, and I'm not trying to preach or anything like that, but it's like, if you just pull out and pray, I think, I know that God will help you. If you put your trust in him, he'll help you. And I want to tell you one quick story, and I'll try and make it short, because I know we
have to get to Christmas memory.
And then we'll do Christmas memories. Well, I'll do this as my Christmas memory, of course. I remember... we grew up in a beautiful church, Gateway Cathedral.
Oh,
we had Christmas shows. And, of course, my grandma, my grandparents, my Aunt Rose, all my relatives, loved ones, family members, friends.
Yeah, we would go see.
We love you all. Our friend Klaus, Santa Claus.
Oh, yeah.
We love everybody. Our family, our friends, Gateway.
Yeah, it was an old church we used to go
to. But we'd have, but I have to say, there was one time where... because I would hear atheists talk about things, and they say one of the reasons they stopped believing in God is when they found out Santa Claus wasn't real. And actually, I listened to that, and I says, you know what? I think that's when I began to believe in God.
Yeah.
When they found out Santa Claus wasn't real, then they says, oh, they can't be God.
I think it was.
And our parents sat us down, and they were explaining that, look, Saint Nicholas was this man.
Dad lost his job. He was laid off. So he had to explain.
Yeah, we had to explain it a little bit. No.
We were fine with it. We actually I felt relieved because I said, thank God there's no Santa, because Mom and Dad are much more forgiving than Santa. But not only that, you know what you realize? What do you realize with that is that, besides the hair on my tongue that's driving me crazy, it's gone now. What I realized in that moment, I hope I'm not stealing your thunder, is that I never realized just how much they had been sacrificing for us. and how much they've been putting it all on the line for us and doing everything for us. When you think there's just some imaginary guy that can bring you gifts if you're good or bad, if you're good, actually, it's sort of. But when you realize, hey, mom and dad had to work extra hours for those GI Joe figures or those little Star Wars toys or silly things like that, that when you're a kid are so important, and you get to be older and you're like, you know,
because Danny said something funny, and I says, leave it to Danny. That's why I love him so much.
I didn't want some creepy guy in my house.
No, but leave it to Danny. I says,
and of
he's
course,
the type where he's
Silent Night, Deadly Night came out. When I was a
Silent
kid,
Night, Deadly Night.
and I saw the commercial, and I knew about it. And a few people.
You told him about Franz Gruber, right?
No, I was afraid.
No relation to Hans Gruber.
Because I saw the commercial. Like they would air.
Franz Gruber wrote the original Silent Night.
Air the commercials for Silent Night, Deadly Night, and I saw the commercial Silent Night, Deadly Night. I'm like, Dad, what if Santa Claus is like this guy comes in the house instead of Santa? And Dad's like, no, Santa will beat him up. It's no problem.
Santa will beat him up.
But I'm like, well, what if he comes in? What if Santa Claus goes crazy? I was very afraid of. I still am, but when I was a kid, home invasions was the scariest thing. I was always afraid of some monster or some crazy escaped lunatic coming in. So then, luckily, that never happened. What happened is a crazy person would come to our house and realize this is too much for me. I'm getting out of here. But what were you saying about?
This is what Danny had said was, he said something that I'll never forget, and I had a different perspective on it.
Uh-oh.
So he was basically, he said, wait, you mean to tell me we had Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus living in our house the whole time? And it made me think about it. It made me think about it for a while, and I said,
and the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy.
Well, that too, but it made me think that we all have the potential to be Santa Claus, and that's when I started to actually believe in God, because I wasn't, they sat us down, they talked about St. Nicholas giving gifts to children, and we live in a broken world, and I know a lot of people are struggling right now. We've lived in a very...
Here comes the commercial.
Here is, the commercial. The ad's going to come up from, it's YouTube, but anyway, I'll make this very quick. A few years after... We live in a broken world, and I know a lot of people are struggling out there, financially, or maybe you've lost a loved one recently, and it's very tough around the holidays. Just don't give up. Like I said, if there's a church that's doing Christmas carols, go there. You might meet somebody. Have some Christmas cookies and hot chocolate. Just reach out to somebody, because I know it's been a very tough time. But let me just explain, and I'll finish this up. About, people not believing in God because, Santa's not real and the Easter Bunny's not real, this and that. But the thing is, we all have the potential to be Santa or Scrooge before the ghosts. And the thing about it is that a few years later, we were part of this, with my church, we were part of this thing called Angel Tree. And a man started it who he was incarcerated at a certain time. He made it out. But he started this program that we're going to give gifts to children of family who are incarcerated. And so I went one day with them. I was in junior high school. Now, I was in, it's a cynical, sarcastic time when you're in junior high school.
Yes,
you're a junior high school kid. And this is years after I learned about Santa and everything. Mm-hmm. But even the cynical, sarcastic junior high school kid in me.
Yeah.
Saw kids who were
living in the welfare
hotels. Lived in
really had nothing.
A tenement, and we grew up in the suburbs. We had we had parents who worked hard. They brought stuff home for us, and I looked at their little tree in the corner, and I looked around, and those words that Danny said actually stuck with me. We had Santa Claus here this whole time, and the thing was the gist of it, I guess, but the thing is, it really struck me because I said, just fathoming that I could be Santa Claus for someone. Yeah. You can be Santa Claus for someone. You don't have to wait around for somebody to come in and answer all your problems and everything like that, but we could actually do the good work to help somebody. And I think, to me, that's what Christmas is all about. Yeah. It's when that baby was born in a manger 2,000 years ago, it's about God's love for us, and how we can share that love with other people. And I hope those kids who grew up, hopefully they didn't get into that cycle of prison and all this other stuff. And I think that maybe one day in their life, I would hope they would say, you know,
There
was one day where these guys and these kids came to my house and they brought us gifts. Now, maybe I had a tough upbringing, but there was one Christmas where someone was kind to me and someone was nice to me. And I'm not saying this to toot my own horn. I was just going along with everybody. But it actually struck me as even that sarcastic nature that you have as a junior high school kid.
It changed,
and I says, you know, and I think about today in the world that we live in, and it's a very tough world with, you know, wars going on and this going on and drones flying overhead and nobody knows what's going on. But I'll just close it out with saying that reach out to somebody. There's somebody out there who cares, and there's somebody out there who knows what you're going through. And, you know, and just like George Bailey, you know, you know, if you pray, it's, you know, it doesn't cost you any money. It doesn't cost you any time. You know, it's like
the Christmas
take 5 minutes out of your day.
And the last thing I'm going to say is that sometimes the Christmases when we, on paper, had the least were the best Christmases, where it was less stuff and it was more about family and getting together. And it was sort of like the ending of The Grinch, where they don't have their stuff and they still have Christmas in their heart. And that's the whole thing of Christmas. That's the whole thing of these Christmas movies. And some of them are crazy, like Out of the Apocalypse, but it's about having that spirit of giving and the joy in your heart, that no matter what happens, like there's a great scene in that movie where the girl is listening to her music and she doesn't know that there's a zombie apocalypse because she has her earbuds turned up and she's dancing through the town and she's just such joy is inside. She doesn't realize that zombies are behind her and they're attacking people because she's so happy. And that's what it is. We do live in a world of, there's some dark and evil things in this world, and there's a bunch flying over New Jersey right now. God help us. This may be our last broadcast.
Yes, if you hear this, we're signing off from the Nostromo. But no.
Yeah.
But I'll say one last thing that my wife told me yesterday. And she said, I says, what do you want? I asked my wife, what do you want as a Christmas present? And she said, I want you to be present. Okay. So sometimes we can, you know, go through life, and sometimes we could be right next to somebody, but we're scrolling on our phone or we're worried about everything going on. But I think when we're present for someone, when we try to give a little bit of ourselves, of our time, that's the most important thing, being together with loved ones and family. So we want to wish you a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, New Year, Happy Hanukkah. And Hanukkah, I believe, is on the same day as Christmas this year. So
have a happy holiday, everyone. Merry Christmas, John.
Merry Christmas.
Hey, Merry Christmas, Yoko.